Hi, I'm Rob Gelder. Welcome to this episode of Commissioner Corner. Did you know that you can get a four-year degree here in Kitsap County? If you didn't, stay tuned. You'll learn a lot. Today's guest is Candice Merrill, who is the Operations Director of Western Washington University on the Peninsulas. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Joining me now is Candice Merrill. Candice, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of the program today.
Certainly. Thank you for inviting me.
So one of the things I'd like to sort of take a few steps back, because I think that for a lot of our viewers, they may or may not know that Western Washington University has a presence here in Kitsap County. So can you tell us a little bit about sort of when did Western Washington University start thinking about an affiliation or working partnership with Olympic College?
It was before I started with Western Washington University, and I think the initial conversation started about 4 years ago. So it took the first couple of years to sort of flesh out the idea of a partnership with community colleges, both Olympic College and Peninsula College. Sort of work through what that partnership would look like, and then do needs analysis and feasibility studies. It took some time for that to happen, and then once we were ready to really hit the ground running, it all came together within a year.
Wow, that's pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So how does this approach to partnering and four-year degrees in sort of the outside of the Bellingham campus, how does that fit with the overall mission and vision of Western Washington University?
Well, Western Washington University is a state-funded university, of course, and so its mission is to serve the population of the state of Washington. Now, that being said, it really does a terrific job of serving the northwest corner of that side of the state up in Bellingham, but and they do have a presence in some various locations, Everett, Seattle, even Tacoma, but it's not a true satellite campus. This effort here, located on the Paulsbo campus, is the first real true satellite campus with faculty and administrators here on site. And so this will allow Western to serve a population that has been really unserved by state universities.
I know that it's always been one of those things that has been an ongoing struggle for our community, where you have Olympic College, which does a phenomenal job here locally, but as we're starting to think about, well, if someone wants to pursue a four-year degree, they end up leaving Kitsap County. So on some level, we kind of lose our brain trust. We start to get these folks that, and then they get connected to other communities and they may or may not come back.
That's right.
And that's a challenge for us. So it's really exciting that Olympic College partnered with Washington State University a few years ago on an engineering degree. And so now with Western here, it's pretty darn exciting for me. That's why I really wanted to share this information with the community. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the programs or some of the degrees that you are starting off with here at the Paulsbo campus, and kind of why?
On the Paulsbo campus, we have environmental science and environmental policy. Those come from the Huxley College of the Environment on the Bellingham campus. Those programs have actually been operating out here for a good long time, a number of years. It's been the best kept secret, I would say, because there was no physical presence for faculty or administrators here on the peninsula. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a way of really promoting those programs very well. So enrollments have been steady enough for those programs to stay operational, but we really hope to grow it now. On the a brand new program that we've just started is the Bachelor's in Business Administration. There again, that's just brand new. It started this fall. On the Olympic College campus in Bremerton, we have teacher education and a master's degree in, I think it's educational leadership, but it's for school administrators, basically, who want to take that next step up in their career.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So how have you gone about trying to get the word out that A, you're here, B, that you have these degree programs available to the community now?
Well, that's been a real challenge, honestly. We're finding that marketing and advertising on the peninsula is not, it's really a different animal. It doesn't work the same way that it does on that side of the water. So it's largely word of mouth. We meet with students. Of course, we go to all of the recruiting fairs, transfer fairs, all of those kinds of things. We try to be as visible as possible among students that we can see might be interested in coming into Western on the Peninsulas. I also do a lot of meeting with potential employers to find out what their needs are in terms of employees 4 years, 5 years from now, and try to work with them so that we can develop the programming that they need. Based on the length of time that it took for Western to get here, you can see that it's not a very speedy process. There are a lot of moving parts, and it takes a while. So it's important to start having those conversations now about what employers will be needing 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm. So being able to really craft the degree programs that you're offering to really meet a local need. And
exactly.
That's great. So how do prospective students really get connected? So if basically, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, where your degrees are really looking for folks to transfer in probably for the last 2 years of a bachelor's degree. And so how do they get connected to the program?
So the way our partnership with Olympic College works is that we have our faculty work with their faculty very closely so that they teach the first 2 years, we teach the second 2 years, and it becomes a seamless transition so that when the students are ready to come into Western, they haven't lost any credits. It's just a nice, smooth transition.
So do they then work with, say you have a student at Olympic College, mm-hmm. and they're interested in that business administration mm-hmm. degree, so then they are working with...
They work with faculty and advisors on the Olympic College campus okay. who are very well informed, and they know how the Western business program works and what the prerequisites are so that they can help prepare those students.
Great. So what are the other programs that you're offering in the community? I know that you say that print media is only so effective, but I know that as I've been flipping through the paper recently, I've seen a much larger presence about kind of interesting book club type of programming. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Well, degree programs are one way that Western Washington serves the community, but we also offer lots of programs that are really just for intellectual discourse, if you will. Just some kind of interesting events and non-credit offerings. For example, we have what's called a book group with an academic twist. It will bring participants together for 4 weeks. They'll read a book. They'll meet with the author. It's a local literature book club. They'll meet with the author. They'll also meet with a subject matter expert, and they will meet with possibly a reading specialist or someone that's going to help them get the most out of what they read. So it's a little bit more academic than your typical book group. Mm-hmm. We also have our Western lecture series. We do lectures about twice a month. Those are usually free or very low cost. They're open to the public, and they cover a wide range of topics, like any topics that you might be exposed to on a college campus. And then coming this spring, we'll begin to offer continuing education courses for personal and professional development. So under the heading Professional Development, for example, one of our offerings will be employment law. Mm-hmm. That will be a 24-hour course, not 24 hours consecutively.
all in one time, yes.
But it will be offered over a series of weeks. And that's something that every business owner needs to know. And be a good idea for all managers to know as well.
And that's pretty exciting to be able to bring that to our local community when you have a lot of small businesses, a lot of that they probably don't have the time to leave the community to actually get that type of updated education to be able to sort of plug into it locally is great.
Exactly. And those are people who already have a degree. They don't need another degree. They just need to get this one bit of information that's going to help them be more effective in business. They can just get in and get that skill and get right back to work. And these are very high quality courses, the same as a university course would be. They just don't offer credit.
So how do people go about getting this information if they happen to have missed the newspaper ad? If there's some place that they can always go back and check to see kind of what's happening in terms of the book club or the lecture series?
Our offerings are listed in the OC View catalog that gets mailed to every home.
Okay, great.
Now, because of catalog deadlines, we may not get every one of these continuing education courses listed, but we always have general information about our offerings and a link to the website so people can go there and see what's coming up. We also encourage people to join our mailing list if they'd like to be kept informed. And of course, we do flyers and posters in all the local libraries and try to get the word out as best we can. We also make use of the calendar of events in all the local newspapers. Mm-hmm. So people can always check that and see what's coming up.
So we'll make sure that we put the web address at the end of the program just so that our viewers can have a chance to see what that is. Terrific. So being basically a satellite, you have a few Western employees here in Poulsbo. What is that like being sort of connected but yet so far away from the main campus? And how do you maintain those connections, that collaboration that I would imagine would kind of happen naturally when you're in that campus of everybody?
Well, first I have to say it's really fun. We're really bonding, and we all have this sense of being able to create this as we go. So our little team there is working just terrifically. We have myself, Kathy Johnson, who's our manager of operations and manager of all things. Mm-hmm. We have Dr. Troy Abel, who's our academic director for the environmental sciences and environmental policy programs, Dr. Janice Bauman, who's our environmental science faculty, and Dr. Mary Sass, who's academic director for the business program.
Wonderful.
And as far as keeping connected with campus in Bellingham, it requires a little travel. Mm-hmm. So we're all doing that. And we also have a lot of Skype meetings to stay in touch with the various units on campus in Bellingham.
Yeah, that was my next question. So with technology the way it is these days, you should be able to, or we could expect to stay connected in other ways. So
yeah, certainly.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So what is it about this opportunity and that kind of drew you to being part of Western Washington on the Peninsulas and the Poulsbo community?
I was working in a similar position for the University of Montana in Missoula. This one is a little, well, it gives me the opportunity to feel like I can create it from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And the idea of getting out into the community and talking to people, meeting people, listening to what is wanted here, and then being able to create it is just really exciting for me. I love this.
Oh, fantastic. So how's it been going thus far? I mean, you talked about sort of getting the word out can be a bit of a challenge. Word of mouth still, even in this technology age, is still really effective. But how's it been going?
It was slow going at the first, but we seem to be picking up momentum as we go. And so I feel like now, when I go out and talk to people, I very rarely meet someone that hasn't heard that Western is here. And there's so much support from the community. People are really helping me out, helping to get the word out.
Great. So in terms of the coursework that's offered, and would you say that if someone were employed during the day and they were trying to pursue a degree in business administration, is there flexibility in the scheduling of the coursework, where there's some available in the evenings or the daytime, or what is the main emphasis of that?
The environmental sciences and environmental policy courses are offered in the evening. So those work pretty well for people who have 9 to 5 jobs, 8 to 5 jobs, whatever. The business administration classes are offered in the afternoons. So that's a little bit more challenging, but we have other scheduling issues to work around, and so we're not able to make that absolutely truly flexible. Now, that being said, there are a combination of things happening that will make that easier for students. Some of the electives, for example, are offered online, and some of those course meetings are taking place half in the classroom and half broadcast on ITV. So that offers a little bit more flexibility. They also do student projects and things that don't require so much time sitting in the classroom.
So I know that from my time in college and being part of that campus community, that was really a big part of the experience overall. Are you able to sort of craft that, or you think you're able to create that type of campus feeling in Poulsbo, given where it's located, and College Marketplace is still in the process of building out, but it's not necessarily in the downtown of a community?
It's true. Well, our mission here is to recreate what's called the Western experience for students. Now, in some ways, it will be quite easy to do that because we have very high standards of quality, and we really work with students one-on-one. It's a very personable, approachable office, and so I think that part of the Western experience comes naturally to us. Things like sports events, probably not. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't really see a future for that sort of thing here in Poulsbo. But I think the campus will be unique and a very enjoyable place to be. Poulsbo sees itself as being a college town. I think that will be unique as well. It won't be a typical college town, certainly, but I think it will bring its own character.
So often, a big part of that college experience is around student housing of some sort. And I know that I've heard little inklings here and there. Does there really a need to have student housing? Do you see that either currently or maybe in the future, that would be of a service to students pursuing degrees?
Certainly, in the future. At the present time, our enrollment is not large enough to require housing, but it's kind of a chicken and the egg problem, where we will need to have places for students to live in order to be able to attract them, and we have to have enough students in order to justify the housing. So I think that Poulsbo will get on board with that and help us out. I don't see a time that Western would ever build dorms here, but I do think that some of our programs will be very attractive to students from outside driving distance. So it will have to be a part of the overall plan.
I can imagine if you're serving the Peninsulas, being Kitsap and Olympic,
yeah.
And again, also with a partnership with Peninsula, it does get to a point where there's a large distance and it can be prohibitive in terms of time and investing that drive back and forth to attend classes, et cetera, that housing could be a factor for many people in the future.
Certainly.
So what do you think might be on the horizon? I know it's sort of market-driven. You talked about a need to work with local employers to sort of see and understand what their needs are for their workforce in the future. Is there anything that's starting to bubble up that might be on the horizon that you see saying, well, that seems to be a need in our community?
I can say that there are a few programs being talked about that we would add. I can't, I'm not at liberty to say what they are.
Sure, I understand.
Because things change. But our intention is to get stable with what we're offering now and then add a new program and get that stable and then add a new program so that we're always bringing something new. Ultimately, we want to have a lot of options for students to choose from.
So is your ability to expand programs somewhat tied to funding that you receive through the legislature and being able to support the FTEs to actually be faculty?
It is tied to state funding, of course. It is also, there are so many factors that go into deciding which programs to bring. It's obviously based on community need. It's based on Western, on the Bellingham's campus ability to do that. If a particular academic unit is poised to be able to grow, then they'll probably be willing to come over here to the west side and join us. If not, the timing may not be right. We might have to hold that program off for a year or two and start another new program.
So if I were a student and I was currently, is there a possibility, do your programs are such that it's only students that are in their last 2 years or working on their bachelors that they plug into your classes, or are there some that may be in their first 2 years of their degree work that are also plugging into classes, or are they just sort of the 300, 400 level and they don't mix?
We just offer the 300 and 400 level classes. Now that's not to say that someone who's in their first 2 years couldn't take our classes. They could, but it would be more expensive because they'd be paying tuition at 2 colleges at the same time.
I see.
So it's possible, it's just not very likely that that would happen. It seems to be more affordable if they would finish up everything they needed to do at the community college level, then move into Western and pay one tuition rate for all of their Western classes.
So one of the really active programs that we have in our high schools here is a Running Start program,
Right.
which I think is phenomenal for
really
a
is.
student if it works for them and it's the right thing to be able to do Running Start and potentially graduate high school and graduate with an associate's degree right at the same time.
Right.
How do you think that would be for potentially a student who gets her AA degree and graduating high school? Would they be ready, and would Western be a possibility for them to sort of basically at their freshman year be a junior?
Absolutely. I don't know how often this happens, but if you think about the best case scenario, a person would be able to graduate from high school with their AA degree. Best deal ever. And then if they can, or if they can get any number of college credits knocked off their list through Running Start, it's going to save them money. It's going to save a lot of tuition dollars. So they can do that and then continue to live at home or live near home and study at Western Washington University on the Peninsulas. It's going to be the most affordable way to get a 4-year degree. You know, we've heard a lot about young people graduating from college with a mountain of debt. And it's hard to see how they will ever be able to start their life and have any hope of getting out of debt. So I really think that between Running Start, community college, and living close to home while completing the 4-year degree is really the most affordable way to do it. If you look around the nation, this seems to be a trend of universities partnering with community colleges in order to allow for this to happen. It's all in an effort to keep tuition more reasonable.
Well, I know that even when I was in college, it's the room and board portion of it was, it probably rivaled almost the tuition component, and that it really is a hindrance to people being able to pursue education.
Right.
And in this day and age, and all trying to be fairly competitive, it's so important to be able to pursue higher education.
Right.
So is there a question or something that I haven't asked you that you just have to get out there and make sure that our audience hears that information?
Well, I think I would just add, if you are not sure what Western Washington University on the Peninsulas might have to offer you, check us out. Check our website. You'll see that whether you're interested in just attending one-hour lecture or enroll in a degree program or the full gamut of activities in between, I think you'll find some really fun and interesting things there.
Wonderful.
I didn't do that very well.
So I know that we met, actually, you came and were a speaker at my Rotary Club. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity for getting the word out to all the various service clubs, whether it's Lions or Kiwanis. Or, so I would encourage anyone that's watching this program, if you, whether it's your church, if that's appropriate, or if you are a member of a service club and think that your club would like to learn more about Western Washington and its programs, I would definitely encourage you to get a hold of Candice, and we'll make sure that the contact information is at the end credits as well. But with that, I would say that thank you very much for taking the time to watch our program. Candice, thank you so much for being here and being part of it. I think it's a great story to get out into our community, and we're so happy that Western Washington University on the Peninsulas is here and making home in Poulsbo. So thank you, and I wish you all the best luck for a lot of enrollment in programs here in the near future. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Commissioner's Corners. There will be information at the end and the credits with some of that contact information and website info, so please do get informed. Stay tuned, and you'll learn a lot, as well as anybody who wants to plug into the Western Washington experience. So thanks. See you next time.